how good it is to be together.
Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov
u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
One more time. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is to be together.
on this day. How good it is.
How good it is.
How sweet it is.
How sweet it is.
Be
Together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Shabbat shalom. It feels like summer, I think. How appropriate for us to celebrate Camp Shabbat this evening on what tomorrow will be just a camp day with lots of fire pits and hopefully lots of tennis outside and maybe some football in the snow. But tonight we get to celebrate the power of Jewish summer camp. Jewish summer camp has been a crucial part of the American Jewish story. Jewish camping as we know it began in the late 1890s as a way to provide children with a brief respite from the cities. Jewish parents wanted their children to get fresh air, escape industrialization, and improve their health. By the late 1920s, Jewish summer camps had gotten explicitly ideological. Socialists, communists, anarchists, Zionists, and Yiddish. Author Dan Noskowitz writes, Zionist summer camps prepared kids to move to Palestine, while a socialist summer camp would have no individual money, and any packages a camper received from home would be divided equally to the rest of the camp. Labor was highly valued. A punishment for bad behavior would never be easy. Say cleaning the bathrooms, because bathroom duty was a noble and important role in the camp society. The power of Jewish camp still exists. Though they might not be as ideological based, at most Jewish summer camps, your bathroom cleaning is not the most desirable cabin job. And however, Jewish camp still builds strong community, a love of Israel and Judaism, and a lasting impact on the camper. It did for me as a camper and counselor at the Reform Movement's Eisner Camp in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. And if you're joining us online tonight, we would love to know where you went to camp. And after you're joining us here tonight, why don't you just shout out where you went to camp? Jewish, non-Jewish camp, day camps, active camps on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, perfect, awesome. I got all of those as well. Eisner for me was a place that helped build a foundation of my Jewish life. From the tunes that I continue to sing today, to Israeli dance moves that I still remember, and the deep Jewish friendships that I still nurture. Eisner was a place for me to explore my own Jewish identity. But it's not just me that has been impacted by Jewish camp. Jewish camp studies have shown that if you attend Jewish camp as a camper, as an adult, you are 30% more likely to donate to a Jewish charity, 37% more likely to light Shabbat candles, 45% more likely to attend synagogue monthly or more, and 55% more likely to be very emotionally attached to Israel. Jewish camp is powerful for the continuity of the Jewish people. So this Shabbat, we celebrate bug juice and Maccabia, flashlight tag, wearing white on Shabbat, song sessions, Israeli dance, and friends that last a lifetime. Tonight we will hear how Jewish camp has shaped members of our own Temple Emmanuel community. We will sing camp tunes, we will dance, and we'll mark the power of camp. It's my privilege to invite up Emily Halpern, our Assistant Director of Youth and Community Engagement, who I know loves camp, and it's wonderful to have her back here in our community for Camp Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom. My name is Emily Halpern. I'm the Assistant Director of Youth and Community Engagement here at Temple Emanu-El. I wanted to welcome you to Camp Shabbat, where tonight we're celebrating the magic of Jewish overnight camp. As a shared professional between Temple Emanu-El and URJ Camp Harlem, I have the amazing opportunity to still go to camp over the summer where I grew up and now work as a supervisor of Jewish life. After 17 summers, I can say that I still get butterflies as I drive through that gate. Camp has impacted my Jewish journey and made me the professional that I am today. I attribute a lot of my success and knowledge to growing up in a vibrant, fun, and Jewish community. Throughout this evening, you'll have the opportunity to hear from campers from a variety of our URJ camps. They'll share with you why they love attending Jewish overnight camp and how meaningful these experiences have been to them. I'm also so excited to introduce my friend and friend to Temple Emanu-El, Jason Flatt, who I've had the pleasure to work alongside with at camp as the head song leader, and I'm so excited to welcome him here tonight.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. I attended and worked at Camp Harlem between 2006 and last summer. So a lot of my life, I think sometimes my friends and I play this game where we try to count the cumulative years of our lives that we've spent. If we add it up every day, and I think I'm somewhere around 2 entire calendar years out of my only so many. And yeah, but I didn't always, if you know me, you know that I may not have always started out as someone who loved camp, loved music at camp in particular, but eventually came to be one of camp's head song leaders a couple of years ago, and it's clearly a thing that I love now. And I think that what happened was over the course of my time at camp, I've learned that there's kind of 3 ways that music moves us. There's the literal way. There's how we're moving, we're dancing, we're banging on the tables, we're doing our hand motions that our friends are doing during some of our songs and prayers. There's the way that it moves us as in it transports us almost in a physical, temporal way, where if we sing these songs tonight, a lot of these camp songs, we might feel like we are moved to camp. We might feel like we're moved to a time in our lives when we went to camp. And there's also just the emotional movement that music does. There's the way that explaining something in a song, having a moment together with music, it's different than when we do it in any other way. And so I hope that tonight at our Camp Shabbat, we'll move with our hands and our feet, we'll feel moved into a different time and space, and that we'll be moved as we get to enjoy our Shabbat together.
So we celebrate camp. We also celebrate 2 wonderful B'nai Mitzvah that we will lead our community. And so it is my honor to invite up Graydon and Chase and their families to light the Shabbat candles. And we turn to page 120. We will be calling the page numbers in the brackets. So if you follow along, or you can follow along if you are in the sanctuary on the wall as well.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold us, so we may by our lives to all who behold us. And their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel that began to light in the light, so we may be among us who give the light.
Chase and Graydon, last week we read from the Ten Commandments, which we were on a really big high in our community. It's a momentous moment in the Jewish story. And then we have Mishpatim, which is all these other rules that follow along. It doesn't seem as momentous. But tomorrow and Sunday are momentous days because you two are like Moses and will be leading this community in prayer. Sometimes it's at that peak, but usually we need someone to ground us at the bottom of the mountain. And the two of you do that by leading us and continuing on our journey. So I and Cantor and Rabbi Appel are so happy that you will be leading our community, as we know we will go from strength to strength with your leadership. So mazel tov to you and to your family, and we can't wait to celebrate with the two of you. We continue on with Wyatt and Matty Schlitzer to share a few words about their camp experience.
Camp Harlem is a wonderful place where you can play sports and activities and make tons of new friends. So let's start with the kids. In Harlem, your days are full of activity. There are tons of different things to do. Raise your hand if you like Gaga. Okay, so we actually have many pits there, and if you don't know, you will quickly learn. If you like swimming, you're also in luck. We have a few different types of pools. We also have a large climbing tower with zip lining too. Now let's not leave out the chapel. There's actually a picture of the chapel right up there where you would go up to Shabbat on every day. And as Harlem's mascot, we host Shabbat on that huge hill for three times. Every weekend for breakfast, you have oranges, donuts, and so much more. At lunch, there's a barbecue, and on normal days, we have varieties of foods, pierogies, sandwiches, and quesadillas, and so much more. Now for the parents, listen to this. You get 3.5 weeks without children. My parents personally told me that they had to run the dishwasher around 3 times. With kids, that number would go up to 87? Loads of laundry, next to none. We know you love us parents, but hey, even you guys need a break. Your kids will also make lifelong friends that they'll know through life. The counselors will also bond with your children and take care of them. Imagine them as long-term babysitters. To the end, I'd like to say the same phrase that the counselors tell everyone as they get on campus. Welcome home.
Hi. I was not as smart as my brother, and I did not print my speech, so I have it on my phone. Give me a second. Hi, I'm Madeline Schlitzer, and this coming year will be my 5th year at Harlem. And I've been going since I was 8 years old. It's been such an amazing experience. Arriving at camp is the most beautiful thing. Counselors stand on the side of the road and shout, "Welcome home." Camp Harlem has become my home away from home, and I hope it will become yours. Then you pull up and see your bunk and your old friends, or soon-to-be friends, waving and shouting, and it just makes me so happy and so ready to start the summer. Camp Harlem is for the kids, we all know that. But adults get 3 to 7 weeks of solitude, relaxation, and not having to do laundry. Meanwhile, your kids will be having the time of their lives surrounded by other kids their age. Especially during Shabbat, when the whole camp gathers at Chapel on the Hill to sing prayers and to celebrate Shabbat. Even better on the next morning when you get donuts for breakfast. There aren't any words that can perfectly describe Harlem. It's chasing fireflies on a summer evening. It's dipping cookies into milk every night. It's banging on the tables during song session. It's being with friends that become family. It's being home. And now, because I know the kids won't be totally swayed by everything else, Harlem has dessert at lunch, late bedtimes, cookies and milk every night, donuts at breakfast on Saturdays, and your parents won't know if you eat nothing but sugar the entire time. Thank you.
Thank you, Matty, and thank you, Wyatt. We continue by welcoming Shabbat with Lecha Dodi on page 138 of your books and on the wall if you'd like.
Lecha Dodi, Yalalai Dikrat Kala, Yalalai Pei Shabbat, Pei Shabbat Dekabela, Yalalai Lecha Dodi, Yalalai Dikrat Kala, Yalalai Pei Shabbat, Pei Shabbat Dekabela. Shamor Bizachor, Midibor Echad, Shishmiyanu, El HaMyuchad, Adonai Echad, Ushmo Echad, L'Shem Utiferet, Velit Gilav, Yalalai, Yalalai Lecha Dodi, Yalalai Dikrat Kala, Yalalai Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Dekabela. Mikrat Shabbat, Lechlu V'Ilcham, Ki Mikor Avraham, Mirosh Mikedem, Nesucha, Sof Maaseh, Machshavat Tefila, Yalalai, Yalalai Lecha Dodi, join us, Yalalai Dikrat Kala, Yalalai Pnei Shabbat, Pnei Shabbat Dekabela. Hitoreri, Hitoreri, Kiva Orei, Shir Daveri, Kivod Adonai, Alayich Nigla.
We rise and face the door.
Ateret Malam, Gam Besimcha, Uvzoholam, Toch Emunei, Am Sigulam, Holy Kalam, Holy Kalam. Yadadai, Yadadai, L'chadodim, Yadadai, L'krat Kalam, Yadadai, P'nei Shabbat, P'nei Shabbat, Dekam Elam.
Some of our participants at home have been telling us the names of the camps they have been to. And let's see, Camp Louise, Najwa and Cedar Lake, Camp Ramah, that's from Terry class, and Sharon, you're stumping me on this one, Camp Madalanaque. Anyone know that camp? Did I say it right?
You said it right.
I said it right, okay, whew, all right. We continue with our call to worship as we remain standing and turn to page 146 for the Baruch Hu.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yadadai-dai-dai, 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 yadadai-dai-dai. Baruchu et Adonai, HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach, Le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayers? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared?
We welcome our toonies back.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day
You may be seated. Well, we are joined by Amanda.
Okay. I'd like to start off by saying that going to Israel this past summer felt absolutely unreal. In 2021, I made it past all the restrictions and the uncertainty to finally make my dream trip a reality. Before this past year, I had been a camper at 6 Point Sci-Tech Academy for 6 years, including 1 virtual year. And hearing about getting to go to Israel with my camp at even 10 years old was always something I looked forward to once I could get to my summer before junior year. So the trip I went on was namely called Sci-Tech in Israel. And over the course of 3 weeks, I got to listen to professional CEOs, creative startup businesses, and of course, get to see all things touristy when it comes to the country. Meeting someone who created an AI computer chip for cars, climbing Masada at sunrise, and touring the SodaStream factory were just a few of the highlights from that crazy adventure. I saw the very top of the country to the very bottom in an experience that really did change my life. I can't imagine the kind of person I would be today if I hadn't gone on that trip. I know it's what a lot of people say, but I found a new love for Judaism, and I made friends that I continue to talk to every single day. I traveled without my parents, and instead with a group of teenagers for 3 weeks in an experience I'll never forget. The new sense of self and the new confidence I gained truly changed who I am now. In Israel, I learned how to be unapologetically myself and unapologetically Jewish, something I couldn't have exactly said earlier last year. I'm always a spokesperson for Nifty in Israel, and of course, 6 Point Sci-Tech, I'm basically a walking billboard for them. So whether it's a trip with your camp, a trip with Mitzvah Corps, or even for no reason besides how fun it is, it's a great opportunity that I think everyone could give a try. I think even through a pandemic, maybe especially because of the pandemic, this trip I went on is something that I will always be impacted by for life. So look into it, because for me, it was worth more than any dollar amount I could have paid. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Our worship continues with the Shema on page 152. Please rise.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Evod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
You may be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'chayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anohi misavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam Beshivtecha bebetecha, uvloktecha v'derech, uvshokbecha ukumecha, uvshartam leot al yedecha, v'hayu letotafot beinenecha, uvtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tiskeru. Asitem et kol mitzvotai, bitem kiddushim lelohehem. Ani Adonai Elohehem, asher hotzeiti ahem mi'eretz Mitzrayim, leot lehem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohehem.
Adonai Elohim.
Lee and Lindsay, even with the masks on, I could see the smiles of pride. And we invite Izzy Kofsky to share a few words with us.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So, when I was younger, much younger, I was always anxious about leaving home. I was convinced from a very young age that I would graduate high school, then I would go to college in New Jersey and live in a tiny house in my parents' backyard. Maybe that's because we just watch a lot of tiny house hunters on HGTV, but I would have never imagined spending 6 whole weeks away from my parents in an entirely different state. And I definitely would not have imagined the college application process, but that's something else. But 7 years ago, in the room right back there, I met the director of URJ's 6 Point SciTech Academy at a Camp Shabbat just like this. I'd always been a science kid, so I walked over to SciTech's table and I saw my friend Amanda playing with some circuits. I then saw a list of the possible workshops at camp, and that summer I realized leaving home wasn't so bad. SciTech is seriously my favorite place on earth. My mom always says that I should open up a SciTech boarding school so I can be there all year. And everyone who has gone there would probably say the same. The reason why isn't the science facilities or the dorms or even the food, although it is very good. It's good camp food. It's the people. Everyone there was just like me. As a kid, I never fit in at school, and frankly, I still don't. But at SciTech, I feel like I belong. People actually want to talk about space, or chemistry, or Dungeons and Dragons, or how trees can count. That's actually true. I learned it at camp. I have so many other tree facts, if you want tree facts. Not only is there a strong community of absolute nerds, there's also a strong Jewish community. And since it's in a camp setting, I feel like I learn more and I have better discussions because everyone wants to be there. So, as I'm going into my 8th year of camp, this time as a CIT, I beg you to please consider SciTech. I know that a Jewish science camp sounds pretty daunting. When I told my journalism class that I went to a Jewish science camp, one person reached out across the class and was like, of course. But it's not like science class, I promise you. If you want to watch people blow up a watermelon with liquid nitrogen at 8 o'clock in the morning, or make your own video game, or make boba pearls out of lemonade, or learn how to make robots, you can't fight the robots. You can't, they're not battle bots. Or get to wear a rainbow lab coat on your birthday, or write, film, and edit your own movie, or do a bunch more awesome stuff all in just a few weeks this summer, please consider SciTech. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, thank you. Someone just said, sign me up. We continue as we celebrate our redemption with the words of Mi Chamocha on page 158.
Who is like you? I don't know. Who is like you? I don't know. of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, V'hamideinu shomreinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, V'hamideinu shomreinu l'chaim. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'asot et haShabbat l'dorotam berit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'asot et haShabbat l'dorotam berit olam. B'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'asot et haShabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'asot et haShabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Vayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'asot et haShabbat l'dorotam berit olam.
And now we invite Carrie to share a few words with us.
The first time I went to a Jewish summer camp was in 2018. I had previously gone to 2 other traditional summer camps, but I immediately noticed that this camp was different. The entire camp felt like one entire big family. It was a community. I was not afraid to be myself at camp. I felt as if everyone could relate to me in some sense. It was nice to be able to talk to other Jewish teenagers my age who had similar interests as I did. Everyone at camp was so welcoming and always made sure that you felt comfortable. I had such a good time that first year at camp that I decided to go back the following year and the year after that. I've gone to this camp for about 4 years, including 1 year of virtual sessions. The camp I go to is called URJ 6 Points Creative Arts Academy. It is focused on the arts, unlike traditional camps where you participate in everything. They have majors that you spend time at for 2 weeks, and by the end of the session, we have a showcase. It's a night where we show the rest of the camp everything we have been working on, a night where we appreciate one another and the arts. Throughout the years at camp, I have done cooking, musical theater, vocal music, photography, and creative writing. I have always been extremely interested in the arts and felt as if other camps do not pay much attention to them. This camp is a place for people who enjoy the arts, who enjoy being creative. Everyone is so supportive of each other, and by the end of the summer, it feels as if you are saying goodbye to your family. I have made so many friends over the years from all over the country. It's an experience that would never happen at any other camp. I'm so grateful that I decided to break out of my comfort zone and go to this camp.
Thank you, Carrie. We continue with the Amidah on page 164, and it's my pleasure to invite Chase to lead us. Please rise.
Open my eyes to truth, open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha. Open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Open my eyes to truth, open my hands to give freely. Open my lips to good words, to pure words, open my heart to love. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zoher Haste Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula L'Dinei B'neihem, Lema'an Shemo V'Yahava, Melech Hozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Abraham, Be'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Baal Gevurot, Umido Melech, Melech Memit, Umechayeh, Umachmiach Yeshua, Bene'emanata lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, v'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Thank you, Chase. You may be seated. We take a moment now for Tefillat Halev, the prayers of our hearts.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav
Now it's my pleasure to invite our very own Amy Kagan, one of the assistant directors of Camp Harlem.
I found my Jewish home at summer camp. I did not grow up in a town with many Jewish kids. I did not feel a sense of connection to my temple, and I did not have Jewish friends. When I was 12, I stepped foot onto Camp Harlem and finally found a place that I could feel Jewish, act Jewish, and be Jewish. What does that really mean? I never had been to a place where kids and adults loved being Jewish. The magic of Shabbat is beautiful to be a part of. Everyone dressed in white, singing, dancing, and praying together. Jewish camp is not just about Judaism. It's a place where you can become the best version of yourself. Whether it's trying something new, like going on the zip line, or participating in the camp play, you can choose your own adventure. I am so lucky because I get to still go to camp every summer. This will be my 22nd summer being a part of a URJ camp. My best friends are camp people. My husband and I met at camp, and now I can watch my kids experience it all over again. And because a camp person always wants to share their experience, I invite you to explore this life-altering opportunity for you and your family. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Amy. And I know I'm looking forward to joining you and Emily and so many of our young people from camp this summer at Camp Harlem. We're going to have a great time. Over the last 2 weeks, Jewish communities around the country have sought support from their interfaith friends and neighbors, and we are no exception. And we have truly been embraced by the larger Westfield community at a time when we have suffered a traumatic loss a couple of weeks ago after the events in Colleyville. And so it is my pleasure to welcome to our congregation tonight Pastor Jeremy Jenkins, who is the senior pastor of First Presbyterian Church, along with his wife, Pastor Caroline Jenkins. And so I would like to invite Pastor Jenkins to lead us in a prayer for our country on page 376.
Shabbat Shalom, my friends. Thus says Adonai, this is what I desire, to unlock the fetters of wickedness and untie the cords of lawlessness, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke. Share your bread with the hungry and take the wretched poor into your home. When you see the naked, give clothing, and do not ignore your own kin. If you banish the yoke from your midst, the menacing hand, the evil speech, if you offer compassion to the hungry and satisfy the famished creature, then your light shall shine in darkness. Pray with me. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and may our country be sound in body and spirit. Amen.
Jeremy, thank you for joining us tonight. And as a leader of our community, we are so appreciative of your staunch support of your Jewish neighbors. Thank you. Each week, we are reminded that life always holds the promise of sweetness. We thank God for the gift of Shabbat and pray that our cups will always runneth over with joy. So if you had some joyousness in your life this week, we invite you to share that with us now. If you're watching at home, I invite you to share that in the chat box. And if there is anyone who'd like to share something joyous that happened to them this week, please do so.
2 amazing B'nai Mitzvah this weekend.
Absolutely, I agree. So we turn to page 122 and we rise for the Shabbat Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei puri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lemahaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tefillah lemikra'ei kodesh, zeker letziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'acharta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh hashabbat. Amen.
L'chaim. You may be seated. And so we do have some exciting news that we share with our community. Katie Engel writes that her daughter, Emily, was accepted into Northeastern University. And we also have the engagement of Erica Groder, daughter of Eleanor and Howard Groder. So this Shabbat, named for the week's Torah portion, is Mishpatim, from the book of Exodus. Now, Mishpatim means rules, and there are many in this portion. In fact, the portion is also known as the Book of the Covenant, encompassing a variety of civil, moral, and religious laws. More recently, this Shabbat has taken on a new name, Repro Shabbat, a project of the National Council of Jewish Women and supported by the Reform movement. Repro Shabbat highlights the core Jewish belief that each person should have control and agency over their own body. Why this week? Parshat Mishpatim establishes that the life of a pregnant person is paramount. Jewish law has always understood that life begins at birth, not at conception. Rabbi Daniel Ruttenberg writes, for too long, there has been a narrative about what religion says about abortion. But we as Jews fight for reproductive health, rights, and justice, not despite our religious tradition, but because of it. And so we offer this prayer. God of our ancestors, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, we affirm that you have created each of us in your sacred image, endowed with the inherent right to dignity and autonomy. We ask that you guide us toward a caring and loving community and nation that reveres this dignity in each of us. We affirm that reproductive freedom, the sacred right to understand the personhood of one's own body, is a fundamental part of the just society for which we strive in your name. We ask that you protect the most impacted and marginalized among us, because it is they who are most at risk. Amen. Now, as we join together in just a moment for the Misha Berach and pray for the health and well-being of our loved ones who are now facing illness, I hope you will keep in mind all those who have been forced to endure dangerous pregnancies, back alley procedures, and lives of stigma and shame. We now continue with the Misha Berach. If there are those for whom you are praying for their physical, emotional, or spiritual well-being, I invite you to share their names in the chat box now. And if there's someone that you are praying for, I invite you to share their names with us at this time.
Lee Marsh.
As well, we add to that list Gabby Kraft-Buckman, Sharon Neese, Ari Brofman, Sharon Sidney, Paula Wegg, Gary Donner, Rosalie Landau, Connor Galinas, Hadara Pollock, Flora Pollock, Jean Outlaw, Edward Wright, Carolyn Wheel, Shirley Rosenberg, David Mazel, Carrie Barkus, Lee Marsh, Madeline Gomes, Carolyn Jacobowitz, Bernie Breslin, and Beth Zaxenberg.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
We rise as we continue with the Aleinu on page 586.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol, l'teit gedula liotze bereshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'aratzot, ve'lo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, ve'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim, Umishpachim umodim, lifnei melech, malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu. Ve'nemar b'haya Adonai, lemelech kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad. Ushemo echad.
You may be seated. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. You are invited to rise and remain standing when the name of your loved one is recited. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, recalling loved ones who have died in the last 30 days. Stephen I. Silberfein, father of Jason Silberfein. Donald Milrod, father of Louis Milrod. Gerald Feigenbaum. Simon Kaplan. Paul Motes, father of Monica Wool. And Marilyn Tannenbaum, mother of Alan Tannenbaum. As well, we remember those who died at this season in years past. Shirley Backrack, Adam Biagioli, Renee Blum, David Borrell, Frank Brooks, Bertha Brownstein, Amy Greenberg Sierra, Sarah Siplet, Ethel Cohn, Henry D. Cohen, Sadie Cooper, Stephen Crown, Max Danis, Joanne Danzis, Benjamin Dunn, Stephen Eaton, Harry Eisenberg, Albert Eisenberg, Gary Engel, Miriam Epstein, Rosalia Fairman, Ethel Finkelstein, Marilyn Forgash, Joseph Frumkin, Norman Gatto, Beverly Getzenberg, Philip Glassell, Rosalie Goodman, Elliot Hockman, Ida Hoffman, Gladys Holtzman, Selig Horowitz, Mona Ives, Norman Klein, Anna Kushner, Joseph Landu, Morton Landau, Sadie Landau, Edith Lair, Myrtle Levine, Rosalind Linker, Charlotte Steinberg Lipman, Harold Kellner, Devin Marcus, Ann Mayer, Terry Murphy-Meyer, Rose K. Netsky, Matilda Deitch Orlick, Rebecca Plotkin, Bruce Pollock, Florence Resnick, Myra Rosen, William Rosen, Stuart Rutger, Harry Salty, Jack Schneider, Max Schutzer, Alan Schwartz, Frederick Schaffman, Blanche Shapiro, Mortimer Silverman, Jacob Smith, Jenny Sorek, Arthur Spar, Fred Tarnowski, Donald Weil, Ruth Wolf, and Saul Zalodnik. As well, we add the names of anyone who you would like to remember tonight. We continue together with the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabah, v'yalma tivrach v'yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon u'v'yom yachon, u'v'chayet u'chol beit Yisrael, b'agala v'yizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabah mavorach, le'elam umei umayah. Yitbarach v'yishkabach, yitpa'ar v'yitkamam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei kedusha b'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, ta'miran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. A few announcements. Shabbat, our observance of Shabbat continues with Holy Scrollers and the Minyan tomorrow virtually. Tuesday, join us for our Bible class. This Thursday, we are excited to welcome virtually Laura Liebman, the author of Once We Were Slaves. This is in partnership with the Jewish Book Council, and she'll be talking about a fascinating book that she wrote on the immigration of Sephardic Jews from Spain and Portugal to many of the Caribbean islands, and as a result, the heritage that many Jews share with people from Africa. So I hope you'll join us for that on Thursday at 7:30. Check your e-blast for more info and more exciting events, like our ongoing celebrations of Cantor Novick, and March 31st, when we will welcome Isabel Wilkerson, author of Cast. Our closing song, Cantor?
The Tunies will be leading us in O Javo Shalom Aleinu.
Wonderful.
Bringing peace into this world with their beautiful voices. Thank you so much, Jason, for joining us tonight and leading us so magnificently.
Shalom Aleinu, Odavo Shalom Aleinu, Odavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'akulam. Odavo Shalom Aleinu, Odavo Shalom Aleinu, Odavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'akulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Shalom, shalom. Odavo shalom aleinu, Odavo shalom aleinu, Odavo shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Odavo shalom aleinu, Odavo shalom aleinu, Odavo shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam. Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Oh Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Oh Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Pe'akulam. Oh Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Oh Yavo Shalom Aleinu. Oh Yavo Shalom Aleinu. At Temple Emmanuel, we are committed to making sure that any child can go to Jewish summer camp. We have lots of scholarships available, and if you're interested in sending your camper, grandchild to summer camp, Jewish summer camp, please reach out to us because we want to make sure that is possible. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May Adonai grant strength to our people. May Adonai bless our people with peace. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And I think there's s'mores outside for those Camp Shabbat, so enjoy those as well.